He's the Dean of the School of Innovation and Entrepreneurship. Please help me in welcoming Chen 老师, everybody. Thank you. So lots of interesting stuff happening in the entrepreneurial space here in Beijing, and I think just as maybe in the U.S. that like maybe Stanford and MIT are kind of like factories for entrepreneurs, I think Beida and CHINICT are sort of also sort of entrepreneurial factories. And in 2011, Professor Chen took over this role, and it's really interesting because he has a PhD in physics, but is also an entrepreneur himself. So they're really bringing somebody in who's not just an academic, but somebody who's also sort of covered with this scar tissue sort of armor, who can really show the way to some of the students here. So I'd love to hear just an overview of the department at Beida that you're heading up, and sort of the goals of it.
Okay, first of all, appreciate the opportunity to be here with the entrepreneurs. I myself was an entrepreneur and still trying to be an entrepreneur again. I joined Beida in 2011. Beida was trying to build a new school of innovation and entrepreneurship. In Chinese we call it 产业技术研究院. But actually it's not a school about how to develop new technology, but rather it's how to commercialize new technology. And so I thought maybe the first is to commercialize technology, you need human talents, and human talent entrepreneurs. So we started the formal teaching of entrepreneurship in Beida. In last fall, we started first opening classes teaching entrepreneurship, some basis of entrepreneurship open to entire Dongmin Chen area. But this term we convert that to be a credit courses, although the class still open to outside if there are empty space available. We have about 200 students in Beida enrolled in the class, about half them from undergraduate and half them from the graduate school. It's unlike any other classes that you teach in Beida, it's all taught by professors. But our classes are taught by professors myself, most of them by entrepreneurs, by investors. And we also have students that would demonstrate with their own business plans towards the end of the semester. Next term, we plan to open a team-based, project-based entrepreneurship classes. So we try to every team will have assign experienced entrepreneur mentors to guide them how to take a very raw idea and then massage it into a more mature, fundable business plan. So kind of like the boot camp type of stuff, but this is on campus. So we certainly welcome whoever in the audience feel that you like to teach in my class, send me an email and volunteer, and we will give you some time to share your experience with our students. And if you want to be the mentors for our specialized classes next term, we will also be very much appreciated and see whether we can include your contribution to our classes.
That's great that you may be able to find some mentors in the audience here. So I was interested to find out that you have 6 plus incubators around China. You've opened up a few just in this last year, become a lot more aggressive and expanding the existing ones. Tell us about that.
Okay, so actually the university purposely tried to combine this School of Entrepreneurship and Innovation with an administrative function called Office of Technology Licensing and Partnership. So that office is mostly equivalent to the Office of Technology Licensing or Transfer in most of the US universities or European universities. So we, as a director myself, I oversee all the technology licensing out from universities IP, or corporate sponsor researchers are coming in to form a partnership with university faculty to do research. As most of you live in China here know that Chinese industry in many ways have not fully developed its own internal R&D organization. So the ability to innovate new product is not quite advanced as their counterparts in the Western world. So it's relatively difficult to just license in a IP, meaning the patent, directly to a company, and they can take it over and perform the research and product development. So oftentimes in China, in most of the cases, that the university faculties have to get involved in the technology licensing and transfer, that professors and students have to get involved for quite extensive period of time to help them develop a prototype or formalize the manufacturing processes or recipes or whatever. So that becomes really quite time consuming, and it's not the best way of utilizing faculty's time or students' time. Though in the Western world, we know we call it technology transfer. Truly, it's taking an IP and transfer it to another group of entrepreneurs who are more experienced in prototyping, in manufacturing, understand the market, product definition, and to some degree management as well. So we try to making more towards that model, and to facilitate that, we build quite a number of incubators. Unlike in the US that you may be very familiar with, typical university incubators are built around campus, create a infrastructure for faculty and students to make use of it. But here, because China is so big, and the market demand for technology is enormous. This workshop focused mostly on software, but in fact, that China as one of the world's largest manufacturing country, the demand on all kinds of technology out there is humongous. And therefore, regional government is very proactive, pouring in university resources to build incubators, innovation centers in their region to help transfer this technology to their local industry and help them transform to a more knowledge-based, innovation-based industry. So as a result, we are invited to build incubators in Suzhou, in Nanjing, in Guangzhou, in northern part of China, including Mongolia, because they have rare earth material. We build innovation centers in eastern part of the Beijing for nuclear medicine. So we have centers for photonics, we have centers for drug discovery, we have centers for nanomaterials, because Beida is a conglomerate, is a liberal arts and science university, so we have 6,000 faculties doing research in many different fields. So all these incubators are financially supported by the regional government. In China, as an entrepreneur, you know the early stage of funding is very difficult to get. Most of the venture here, unlike the venture I met in Silicon Valley, that willing to invest something in a very early stage with tons of risk. Early stage funding is very difficult to get here. We have reported a couple hundred angel investors. In the US, we have 60,000 or more company invested by angels every year. So that's a huge difference in terms of the early stage funding available. So we are able to convince the local governments that if you really want to bring up the technology, you have to really provide some resources for the early stage. So government then provide resources that we act as the investor to using this money to seed some of the very early stage project, including project at proof of concept stage. We have not done as many in software because software is very complex. Internet, a lot of private investors focus in internet space. We have not done that as much. We are, however, interested in software developer software that can take advantage of some of the research that we've done in the university, particularly artificial intelligence related, right? Complex pattern recognition for medical applications, for industrial applications, facial recognition, more complex voice recognition, more complex music recognition, and also can read a whole paragraph and digest what paragraph is really all about. So university have many faculties that get involved in those researches, and we certainly welcome, invite entrepreneurs to take advantage of that, because faculty usually is very focused, deep dive into technology, and maybe whatever they have already quite good to develop next generation application for that. The other area we think is coming up, software related, is big data. As everyone talked about it, I'm sure you guys probably in this workshop discuss about big data. Big data is probably more challenging than a typical internet application tool. And depends on the application, most of the data involve fairly large sectors of the data input. So it could be civilian related, traffic, could be healthcare, and sometimes could be national security related. So those data are probably very difficult for a small individual software developer to get hands on or to develop something useful. But I'm sure there are a lot of consumer-related, individual-related applications that also can have a great usage of this big data that's coming up, including lifestyles, students different from senior citizens, farmers. Farmers are using data differently from people who live in the city. So maybe all those may appear to be niche. But if you work on it long enough, you might be able to become a very instrumental aspect of the entire big data space. So I think outside this mobile computing, big data is also probably a very, very important part of the technology that's coming up. Probably going to be bigger than anything we have seen in the past.
Interesting. So you spent a number of years in the States, also in Silicon Valley, and then moving here to China. What are some of you mentioned early stage funding? That's certainly, I think, a gap. Even in the software space, I think there's still a big gap in that area. But what are some of the other challenges you find in sort of growing the whole entrepreneurial ecosystem here?
So there are considerable differences of being an entrepreneur here. I'm new to the China market. I'm learning as fast as I can. I travel throughout China fairly frequently because I probably only spending time on campus when I need to teach, but the rest of the time I'm running around the country. Try to really understand how can you bring the entrepreneur successfully in China, and because we ourselves involved in invest a lot of government money into this project. One of the differences here, let's talk about the good side. The good side is government very proactive. Government provide all kinds of funding, money to draw talent into their region. C funding goes through either university or goes to government funding channels. So we have more funding given out by government than any government in the world that I know of. So that's very, 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 very good for entrepreneurs. The second thing about being an entrepreneur in China is that the market is more forgiving. In the sense that the market is very fragmented. And that's both good and bad. The good sense is easy for you to start, but it's very difficult for you to become big. Because that means the same idea, roughly, probably at the same time, there are dozens or 2 dozen or 3 dozen the same entrepreneurs that are working on it. So that makes it very difficult to converge and to have leaders. Took years for QQ, for Tencent, for Alibaba to emerge to be the winner. So if you're working on some small applications, I guarantee there are dozens of people working on the same thing. So we know this copycat phenomenon in China. It's a big problem. So it doesn't consolidate talent and resources into a particular sector and take quite some time. And that's a very bad thing for entrepreneurs because it's a trap. It makes you it's difficult to die, but make it extremely difficult to grow. So since you are not that, you always trying to say maybe tomorrow I can outbe the next and become more successful. So that's a big trap. So as an entrepreneur, you need to be aware if your project, your idea is not truly more advantageous, can have more competitive advantage. At some point, you probably want to either merge with other guys or get the hell out of it because you could be there for years and going nowhere. So this is what I recognize in China, and this is part of the market is very fragmented. Part of the regional government try to protect its regional economy. China is big, right? Every province is equivalent to another country, and government did policy to protect its own region. Software, I don't know as well. I give you an example. You see how it works. LED. If you're doing LED street lighting, okay, you can if someone sets a company in Beijing, you come to Beijing, you're too late. It doesn't matter. Take the same project, go to Guangzhou and say, hey, Guangzhou government, I'm going to do an LED lighting in your region. Guangzhou government says, good, you're the first one. Then we're going to provide funding for you. We even give you some market. So Beijing will sell one street, will buy one street from the Beijing company. Guangzhou going to buy one street from the Guangzhou company. And so the market becomes so fragmented, just chopped down. So everyone gets one street, okay? But you cannot grow a company just selling to a specific government market in a very local region. But the market might grow very slowly, keep you alive for long, very long period of time. But at the end of the day, you die anyway. Right? So the question during this period, government helping you, it's a question to be helping you. But are you keen aware that this is not enough? Right? You truly have to be innovative, have to have competitive advantage, and have to leverage market forces to move yourself grow quickly to outbeat the other guy.
Interesting, yeah, because I think the government can give birth to a lot of companies, but maybe also keep them on life support maybe for too long if they're actually going to die, right? So I think that's a challenge, right?
That's right. Mm-hmm. The other issue is intellectual property protection, and that's one of the very important problems. Maybe software is really easier, but when you develop a hardware, you could invest a lot of money and effort to develop the product. And as soon as the product launches to the market, people reverse engineer. And so it's just very difficult. Before you become a market dominator, they all reverse engineer. And they may have a bigger pocket, and they have better one sheet than you have, and you could be just crushed before you even know it. So that becomes one of the huge challenges in China. And I think in respecting intellectual property, the punishment of people who infringe other people's technology need to be a lot harsher than we have seen in the past.
Yeah, I think particularly in more of the hardware space you're talking about, because it takes so much time, money, and energy to get it from research and development to actual, prototype and product, and then someone reverse engineers it. Whereas I think in software, it's always a moving target, and you're always, reshipping new versions. So I think it's particularly painful in the hardware space, and that's sort of, I think, a core differentiator for China. So I think that's something that's interesting. You're really focusing on trying to.
Also, the value system, the value system is also somewhat different. China is very fiercely competitive. In China, we have too many people. Everyone wants to be richer than the neighbor, right? In Chinese, we call it 出人头地. Always somebody sticking taller than your neighbor, and makes Chinese culture extremely entrepreneurial, more entrepreneurial than anything you can see. And that becomes some of the problem. The problem is this, that a China company quickly recognized that to buy the company or buy an IP costs a lot more money. To take the guy who really know technology costs much less money. So if you are an entrepreneurial team and you don't have a strong integrity, just sticking around with your partners, it's very easy for another company, let's say, Tencent might show up and say, wow, you have a very interesting app tool, I'd like to have that. Instead of buying the company, paying reasonable money, right? Because Tencent has a lot of money. They might come around just sticking the guy who really is the key developer in this whole damn thing. And when the guy take away the guy from your entrepreneurial team, basically your company is doomed. So that's very commonly practiced because it's very, very efficient, capital efficient to take the guy who knows the knowledge of another than to buy the whole company. We don't see as bad the situation in the West, but you can see, as far as the capital efficiency, that's the best way to do it. And so if you build a strong value system, the entrepreneur tend to stick together, respect each other's contribution, and you might have better chance to sell the company together. But that's one of the big challenges here as well.
That's great, terrific. Thanks so much for your time, Professor. Really appreciate it, and all the best in helping to grow that out, grow out the whole ecosystem. Big round of applause for Professor Chen today. Thank you.